guys, it's me Elizabeth. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing a tier ranking video. I thought I'd attempt this, and this one is going to be every single fantasy book that I have ever read. This is based off of my story graph. So this is every single fantasy book I've ever read that is recorded on my story graph. There may be a few fantasy books I've read throughout my life that I missed that aren't in my story graph, that aren't recorded down that I have read, but these are just the ones that are in my story graph. Some of these you might be thinking, is that fantasy? Well, according to my story graph, these are all fantasy books. So, without further ado, let's just get into the tier ranking. Let's just start at the top. The number one top tier is Saint-like. You see, I'm holy. Holy Fred. Get it? If you don't know, that's a quote from Harry Potter. All of these tiers are quotes from fantasy books. Most of them are from the same thing, like multiple books. There's only like a couple books. They're not, each quote isn't from a different book because that's too hard. I already tried doing that. It's too hard. But anyways, the first one is from Harry Potter, the quote from Harry Potter, and so basically I'm basing all of these tiers off of star ratings, but I named them book quotes, basically. So the first one would be like ultimate best thing ever. My star rating for those would be like a 6-star book. I know it's like 1 out of 5, but like this is 6 stars. This is amazing, the best, the highest books ever. The next one would be like the actual 5-star books, and this is writing stories is a kind of magic too. The next one is 4.5-star read. So this would be, Dobby has heard of your greatness, sir, but of your goodness Dobby never knew. Another Harry Potter quote, obviously. And this one's yellow one here is the 4 stars, and this is, life is in fate's hands now. You made your choice to stay. Just some random quotes that I thought would fit in the kind of thing. And then for this one, it's a 3.5, and the quote is, I don't think you're a waste of space. The next one is going to be 3 stars, and that is, indifference and neglect often do much more damage than outright dislike. And then for the 2.5 stars, we have bones mend, regret stays with you forever. And then for the 2 stars, we have she's doomed, you're doomed, they're all doomed. And then for number 1 star, I didn't do a 1.5 stars or whatever, I just did a 1 star. We have, people have an annoying habit of remembering things they shouldn't. And then I did make another tier. I know you're thinking, wait, but there's another tier where it's this tier says, the world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places. And the rating for this tier is -1. This is a -1 star. I don't know if there's any books that fall into this tier on this list, but I do have this here. This is the -1 tier. So anything that's like truly horrible, although I don't know if there's actually any books on this list that are that, so I guess we'll see. Let's just go through the list. So number 1, the first book that is on this thing is The Navigator, which I'm basing all of these books off of series, or unless it's a single book, or unless I only read the first book, but I'm basing like the series that I've read, I'm basing off the whole series and not just the first book or whatever. So the first one, we had The Navigator Trilogy by Ewan McNamee. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I read this a long time ago when I was younger, and I loved it at the time. So I'm gonna put this in, well, I've got to put it up here somewhere, as if this is going to work. It doesn't go there. It goes, this is the 4 stars, so it's been a really long time since I've read it, but at the time of reading it, I think I would have given it like a 4 stars, so I'm giving it a 4 stars now. Next one we have is On the Edge of Dark Sea of Darkness, which is just the Wingfeather Saga, if you don't already know. 5-star book series, absolutely love it, amazing, beautiful. Next we have The Black Star of Kingston. This is a book I actually listened to on audio recently, and it's a book that's connected to the Green Ember series or something like that. I forget the author's name, sorry. But I actually was not a fan. I was like, what is this? So, let's see. I think I think I gave this like 2 stars or something, so I'm gonna put this in the 2-star. Wait, 2 stars? This is 2 stars here, yeah. Next we have Ninth House. I'm sorry, it's going in the 1 star. People have an annoying habit remembering things they shouldn't, because the problem with this book for me is that I was like so excited to pick this up because it's by Leigh Bardugo and I liked her other books, and I was like, I'm so excited, this is like an adult fantasy now, this could be so interesting. I read it and I was like, nope, I don't like this is not for me. I did read it with my uncle and he really liked it, but I was just like, this just isn't for me, I'm sorry. I was just kind of like not really that interested in it, honestly. Next we have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I can't pronounce it correctly, there you go. But we're going to put this up in maybe like a 3.5 stars. I don't think you're with the space, because I did really enjoy the book and I read like 5, how many books are there? There's like 7 books, right? There's 2 books that I didn't read, so I think I've read like either 4 or 5, whatever that equals the amount to. But I just decided that I'm not going to finish the series, and it's not really that amazing of a series anyways, so I'm giving it a 3.5. It was definitely enjoyable, but nah. Then we have Dragon's Tooth by N.D. Wilson. I'm not a huge fan of N.D. Wilson, to be honest here, especially after listening to his podcast. But, I don't know. I wasn't a super, I didn't hate Dragon's Tooth, but I wasn't super in love with it. Basically, the situation is, when I was really younger, I was obsessed with the 100 Cupboards series by N.D. Wilson. I loved those books. I don't know why. And then, I knew he had other books, and we owned the Dragon's Tooth, and I did try to pick it up one time, but I would never really got into it. And then a couple years ago, I decided to actually listen to the audiobook because my cousin read it and said she liked it better than 100 Cupboards. So I listened to the audio, and it wasn't really that bad, but nah. I think I'll give it a 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book. I just personally didn't enjoy it that much. Aragon by Christopher Pliny, or also known as The Inheritance Cycle. If you don't already know, this goes it's one of my favorite series and I love it so much. So there's also that. Next we have Name of the Wind. This is another book that I also loved. This is by Patrick Rothfuss. This is definitely a 5-star book for me. I love it. It's not quite my favorite thing in the world, but it's amazing. It's 5 stars. Next we have Shadow and Bone. This is by Leigh Bardugo, the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I'm definitely going to put this in the 4-star because I really enjoyed this series a lot, and I think it's a really good series. So, there's that. I think Shadow and Bone might, I think Shadow and Bone's probably better than Navigator, until I reread Navigator one day, which I do hope to one day do. And I hope, yeah. I think I did that right. Okay. Oh, wait. Did I say Name of the Wind is 5 stars? Yes, I did. Name of the Wind should go up here, not 4.5. I'm getting these tiers mixed up because I didn't write numbers down. I just wrote the quotes, so I can't remember which is which. But Name of the Wind is definitely 5 stars. I don't think it's better than When I Did the Dark Side of Darkness, but it was pretty amazing. Next we have Harry Potter. I think you already know where Harry Potter goes on my list. It's my favorite book of all time, so, you know. Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This was also amazing, and I'm definitely going to put this in the 5-star region as well, because I 5-starred it. Then we have Beyonders. This book was really good. I'm going to give it maybe like a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I want to continue the series. I actually just finished listening to the audio for that last weekend, so that's a really recent read. I really did think it was a good book. I think I'm going to change this. So I'm going to do this. Beyonder goes here. Oh my gosh. And then do it like that. I would put Navigator above maybe Shadowbone if I had read it recently and I remember exactly what happens. But I mean, I remember some of it, but I have to reread it. Ember in the Ashes. So I have like, I don't know how I feel about Ember in the Ashes because as a whole series, I'm honestly not the biggest fan. So here's the situation. I read the first book, I loved it. Read the second book, thought it was okay. Read the third book, I loved it so much. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I read the fourth book and was disappointed because I was so excited for it. And I can't explain why I was disappointed, except that I was just disappointed. Like, I didn't like it, I wasn't a fan. But when I think about the first Ember in the Ashes book, I'm like, that was a solid book, that was a good book, it was a good story. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think I have to put this in this tier, 3.5, because it's definitely better than Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Next we have The Cursed Child. I mean, need we talk about The Cursed Child? I mean, everyone knows. Everyone just knows, right? I actually have to give this 2 stars. I know everyone hates this book, and I'm kind of in the same vein. But the reason I'm not giving it a 1 star is because it's Harry Potter adjacent, and characters from Harry Potter are definitely in it. And I actually would like to reread it one day, because I remember it kind of, but I just think it would be fun to reread a book that I didn't really enjoy. I don't know. I'm weird. But yeah, it gets 2 stars because it's Harry Potter adjacent. You know, Harry Potter was in it, so what do you want? But I actually very much disliked the main characters of the story, which is Harry's child and Draco's child. Yay, I hated them. It's fine. Then we have the Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony something and Holly Black. This book was just okay. Like, it really wasn't that great. Honestly, here's my problem. The overall story and the idea was a really cool idea, but it was just like, it felt like because it was such a short book, it was literally less than 100 pages. It was such a short book, and because of that, it felt like nothing happened, and then it was like just really boring. Like, nothing happened, and it was kind of boring because it was so short. Like, it lasted for like 2 seconds and then it's over, and it's like, this is kind of boring. And I know that it's like a whole series, but I just didn't want to like commit to a whole series and just wasn't a huge fan. So I understand that like it is a well-written book and like the idea is cool, and if you read the whole series maybe it'd be really good, but I was just like, nah, I'm not really into this, I'm sorry. So that's my opinion on that. Then we have The Runes of Guerlain by John Flanagan, #1 in The Ranger's Apprentice. This definitely has to go. I think this is like a 4.5. This is a really good book. I'm currently reading the second one. So far, I'm really excited to continue with it. I think it's amazing. So there's that. Ash Princess Trilogy. Basically, I heard about this book from a booktuber that I don't usually read books that they read, but I still watch their channel anyway. But this book series sounded interesting, and I started reading it. I think I read the whole first one, and I was like, yes, it's really good, I love this. And then I read the second one, and I was like, this is not that good. I'm not a fan. But because when I read the first one, I listened to the audiobooks. So I had gotten all of the audiobooks for all 3 books because I was so excited, because the first one I just like really enjoyed it. And then the second one just kind of fell flat for me and I didn't enjoy it, and I was just kind of like, this is kind of not good. But then I had all 3 of the audiobooks, so eventually, I think it was last year or something, I decided to finish the audiobooks because I had them. I wasn't overly in love with this, but it also wasn't the worst thing in the world. So I guess we could put this as a 3-star. It wasn't the worst. It was better than Dragon's Tooth, I think. Maybe it wasn't, actually. Nah. We'll put it below Dragon's Tooth. Then we have Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. My man. Okay, Brandon Sanderson. Let's see. We'll put you... Okay, so we're going to put Elantris in, I think to put it in the 4.5 stars because Brandon Sanderson's writing, he's just an amazing author. I don't know what else to say. He's just amazing. The Maze Runner. I don't even know. Basically, The Maze Runner, I read this when I was younger and I loved it. And I was really, really into The Maze Runner. Haven't read it in years. I got rid of the series a few years ago because I was not super, I didn't care. I wasn't really into it. So, I don't know what my current thoughts are. I'm feeling like it's just kind of meh. I would be open to rereading this series one day, actually, but it's kind of meh. I think it's okay. I think I'd put it above both of these series just because I did really love it back in the day, whereas I never really loved either of these books. I mean, I guess a little bit of Ash Princess, but Inkheart, the Ink World trilogy, best trilogy ever. I think this, honestly, I think this has to go up here. Honestly, I think On the Edge of Dark Sea of Darkness is supposed to be up here as well, because those are both, favorites. I don't know if Inkheart's better than On the Edge of Dark Sea of Darkness. In my brain, I feel like it is, just because I love it so much, but I don't know, that may change. King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo in the King of Scars duology, which is also part of the Grishaverse. I really enjoyed this. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it was fun. I think it's a good 4-star read. There's a few things in the second book in the trilogy that I was not a fan of, but the same can be said for the Six of Crows duology. There's a few things in the second book I wasn't a fan of, so I mean, it's all really good, so I don't know. Then we have Mistborn. For this, I did put this because it's a book I read, but I only read the first book. I've never read the rest of the series, but I definitely plan to read the rest of the series. I just haven't read the rest of the series yet. So I've only read one book in the series, and that is the same for some of these other books as well. But I had to put it on here because I read the first book. So that's definitely 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure once I read the rest of the series that I'll enjoy it more because Brandon Sanderson's just amazing. Fablehaven. My thoughts on Fablehaven. This is a 4-star series. We'll put it right here for now. When I first off, I tried to read Fablehaven way back when I was younger, and for some reason I couldn't get through the first book or something. I don't know. But then this year, I decided I was going to read the whole series because my cousin's absolutely obsessed with the series. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give this another shot. It sounds intriguing. So I listened to the series in the audiobook. When I read the first book, I was kind of like, this is a good book, but this isn't the most amazing thing ever. I was kind of thinking of it as more of a 3-star book, it's an okay book. But then as I started to read the whole series, I was like, actually, this is a pretty solid series. It's a 4-star series. It's really good. It's not my favorite thing ever, but it is a solid 4-star series. Next, we have Redwall. Again, I haven't read all the Redwall books. I've read maybe 3 or 4 of the Redwall books, but I absolutely love the books that I have read in the series. My brother read the whole thing. He was really into Redwall, but he said that some of the books are kind of repetitive and that you shouldn't read the whole series, so I don't know if I'll read any more books or what other books I'll read, but the books I have read, Redwall, Maddie Mayo, Martin the Warrior, and another one, but I can't remember what it's called, Mossflower. I've read those 4, and I enjoyed all of them very much. I loved the first book, Redwall. It was amazing, and I really loved Maddie Mayo, specifically, but those are the ones I've read. And then we have, so there are a few short stories on this list as well, because I recently listened to audiobooks of some short stories, so I thought I would include these because when I was going through my list on the story graph, they popped up, and I was like, why not just add them? So this is called Mitosis. This is by Brandon Sanderson. This is a good, solid short story. I think I'm going to put this in the upper of 3.5 because it is a short story, so it's not the most amazing thing in the world or something, but it was fun, it was enjoyable. Next we have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade series, and I love the series. I think it's really good. It's definitely higher than King of Scars. I might have to rearrange these a little bit, but I'm just going to put that there for now. Next we have The Night Circus. Basically, my inspiration for this video was I was watching someone else make the tier list of books, like, and stuff, and this person is like absolutely obsessed with The Night Circus, and it's like their favorite thing ever, and I'm just sitting over here like, how? What? Like, I'm sorry, I read The Night Circus finally this year, and I'm not a fan. I honestly didn't like it. I thought it was really kind of boring. I'm like, this is what everyone's obsessed with? Like, what? So, honestly, I'm giving it a 1 star. I'm sorry, people, but I don't care for this book. I read it, I tried to enjoy it, and I didn't, so. Shadows of Silence by Brandon Sanderson. This is another short story. I'm just gonna put this in 3 stars. It was a good, solid listen, because I listened to it in audio, but it's not like the best thing in the world, and it's just a short story, so it's fun. Six of Crows Duology by Lee Verdugo. This one's definitely amazing. I think I'm gonna have to put this, I don't know if I should put this in 5 stars, because, no, this is 4.5, so yeah, I'll put this in 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this trilogy. I think it might go above Elantris, right there, in 4.5, because it's really good, and I love the main character, Kaz Brekker. He's just awesome. Next, apparently there's 2 books for the same series, but basically the Heroes of Olympus series, or whatever that's called, the second Percy Jackson series, I was honestly never a huge fan of this series. So way back when, like, it was a thing, it was coming out or whatever, I read the first 4 books, and I was kind of like, whatever, I liked it enough to get through 4 books, I guess. But I never actually read the last book, and for years I kept saying, oh, I'm gonna read the last book, I'm gonna reread the whole series, and then I just decided, you know what, this isn't happening, this series is dumb, that's why I'm not reading it, so I'm not a fan of this series, and I'll give it a 2.5 stars, because it's not like the worst, but regret stays with you forever. I regret reading it, so, or maybe not, I don't know. I just, yeah, not a fan. Next we have The Lord of the Rings. If you think this is going anywhere but #1 top tier, then you're crazy, because it's my second favorite thing of all time, so it's up there. Then we have The Silmarillion. This is also Tolkien, and we're going to put this one in, I think this one's a good solid, like, 4.5 stars maybe? I'm gonna actually put this in 4 stars, like the upper end of 4 stars, because I really enjoyed this. Obviously it's Tolkien, so it's pretty amazing work, but it's also not the most amazing thing personally, just because, like, there is a lot of stuff, and it's just, like, a lot of information and stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense. I also put The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm on here because it's short stories in Alagasia from, the Aragon universe, and it's volume 1, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be like a series of books, like there's going to be more, so I'm excited for more Christopher Polini books. I've read everything he's written. So, Fork, the Witch, the Worm, I think I would give this, I'm going to give this a 4.5 just because I personally just absolutely love Alagasia and the Aragon universe, and I loved reading about these, like, different stories. I thought it was so much fun. I'm just like, I love Christopher Polini's work. What can I say? Next we have The Ichabod by J.K. Rowling. Again, this is like a good solid I don't remember if I gave this 5 stars. I think I may have. But this book was actually really amazing. And again, my favorite author is J.K. Rowling. So, like, I think it's no surprise that this is amazing. But I think I'm going to put this on the higher end of the 4.5. Dobby has heard of your greatness, sir, but of your goodness, Dobby never knew that. Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, which is The Wheel of Time. I've read 4 books in The Wheel of Time so far. Eventually, I would like to finish it, but it's going to be a hot minute because there's like 20 books. So I definitely am enjoying this book series, and I'm going to put this in the 4-star. I think it's better than Shadow and Bone, but not better than Mistborn at this point. We'll see how that goes off in the future. Next, we have The Archive by V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab, I should say. It's really weird because there's an author, Victoria Schwab, and then V.E. Schwab, and they're the same person, but there's different books that will be, like, she has Victoria Schwab and other books where she has Victoria Schwab. V.E. Schwab and Victoria Schwab, like, that's the same person, but it's confusing. It's confusing. So this one, this is a duology, and I actually really, really like this, and this is kind of what got me back into reading. So I think this can go on the back end of 4 stars because I really liked it. This is supposed to go back end. There we go. Next we have Throne of Glass. I have very mixed feelings about this series. I've read like 5 books in the series or something like that. I still own the series. I still might attempt to finish the series in the future. But basically, I read Throne of Glass and I was just like, this is amazing. I absolutely love this. This book is utterly amazing. Like, I loved Throne of Glass, the first book. I read the second book. I was like, this is pretty decent. This is good. And then I kept going and I was like, this is kind of falling downhill a little bit. So it's not necessarily bad, but it's definitely feels like it's falling downhill a little bit. So if I'm doing the series as a whole, as of what I've read so far, I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. If I was going off just the first book, I would give it a 4 stars because I really enjoyed the first book. Next we have Lorraine Witch in the Wardrobe, also known as The Chronicles of Narnia. You're crazy if you're thinking this is going anywhere but top tier, and it's definitely going to go right in here. That's just my personal ranking. There you go. Next, we have another Harry Potter copy because apparently there's 2, but again, a mistake on me. Next, we have Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a Stormlight Archive, and I've only read the first book, but this is absolutely a 5-star book. I'm putting this above both of these, actually. Actually, is it better than Name of the Winds? Yeah. So, the Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings, the first book in the Stormlight Archive, I read / listened to it, I kind of both, and it was absolutely amazing. And ever since I've been wanting to read the second one, but I've also been trying to put it off, but yeah, I don't know. But it was just absolutely amazing, and I honestly would have put it as like one of my favorite books of all time if like I only read the first book, and there's like 3 other books out, and there's going to be like 10 books in the whole series, so I can't really rate it as like my favorite thing ever yet because I've only read the one book, but I would have put it in my favorite books of all time because that's how amazing it was. Next, we have The Winter King by Christine Cohen, I think that's her name. When I read this, I was like, oh, this is a good story, this is really fun. But then, looking back on it, I'm just like, it's okay. But it's kind of just like maybe 3.5, like, it's better than some of these things because it is a Christian perspective, but also kind of, it's a little flat in some areas, so there's that. Then we have Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. This is another really popular middle grade fantasy, and I really enjoyed this. I'm going to put this over here with Nevermore. I don't know if it's above Nevermore or below Nevermore. I think it's below, because Nevermore is just pretty awesome, actually. But I do really enjoy this. Since Emily had this random book, this is a Star Wars book about Han Solo, The Paradise Snare. I don't know the author, I'm sorry. But basically, I was on my Audible one time, and I found this, and I was like, oh, it's Star Wars, I'll listen to this. Just an FYI, this is crap. I mean, it's not for me. I'm sorry, it's not for me. Then we have this book. So this is called You Wish. I don't remember the author, but I read this book years ago when I was like maybe in my teens or something, and oh my gosh. I think at the time I was like kind of enjoying it, whatever, it wasn't that big, whatever, but now looking back on this book, I'm like, I don't even know where I found this book. Like I had it got it at the library or something, but I don't even remember where I heard of this book. But I'm just like, this is not the kind of book I would read nowadays. This is just terrible. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, I think I'm gonna one-star this. Yeah, it's worse than Night Circus and Ninth House. It's not quite like negative 1 star, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. It is kind of close. If you're wondering, it's basically, I know this is fantasy, it doesn't look like a fantasy, but it was in my fantasy on the story graph, so it's like, I'll just stick it in here. It is kind of fantasy. Basically, this girl, I think it's like her birthday or something, and then she has all these wishes that come true or something. I don't know. I just remember it being really strange, and I'm not a fan. Yeah. I am half tempted to put it in the negative 1 star because I would never read it again. But I don't know if it was all that bad. I don't know. Percy Jackson. I used to love this series when I was younger, so I think this is I have like mixed feelings about Percy Jackson because I used to love this when I was younger. It was quite hilarious and all of that. But also it's not the greatest series, and I do recognize that. So I'm going to put this in 3.5 stars just because I do recognize that it's not the greatest series, but I'm going to put the higher end because I know, yeah. City of Bones, the Myrtle Instrument series. Basically, I've read 4 of Cassandra Clare's books, and I've read City of Bones twice. Yeah, no. Cassandra Clare is not for me. This might be considered trash, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah. I think I'm gonna move this book down here. I have to do it, right? As for City of Bones, I know the whole internet is obsessed with this series, but like -1 for me. I know, I'm sorry. But what can I say? Next we have this book. It's called Raising Dragons. I forget the author's name, but I read this book so many years ago when I was like a teen or something. And basically I read it because my cousin like told me about it. And I read like 2 books. It wasn't good. Just thinking about it, like, I don't like it. It's not for me. It's -1 for me. I'm sorry. But, yeah. Next we have The Too Clever Fox. This is by Lou Bardugo. I found this on Audible and I listened to it. It's just a really short story. Here's the problem with this story. I thought it was a really good story. It was a short story, so it was way too short for me. I was like, this is way too short. So the story itself was actually really well written. It was a really fun story, but it was like an hour long, like audiobook wise. I was like, this is so lame. So as a story, it was really good, but it was just so short that it has to go down super low. 100 Cupboards. I have mixed feelings on 100 Cupboards because back when I was younger, I loved the 100 Cupboards series. I don't even know why, but I read it and I loved it. It was like my favorite thing. I loved it. But recently, I'm not really the biggest fan of N.D. Wilson. Big part of that being I listened to his podcast and was like, yikes. But it's not a bad series. I also tried to reread the first book this year or last year or something, and I was just kind of like not super feeling it, but I think I'm going to give this a 3.5 stars because I remember being obsessed with this book. I'm not now, but there you go. I think that's all the books besides the doubles that I have down here. So this is my tier ranking. Sorry that this video is extremely long, but hopefully someone out there enjoys this video. These are all of the fantasy books that I've read in my lifetime that is recorded on my Storygraph. So my top tier books are Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Inheritance Cycle, Chronicles of Narnia, Inkworld Trilogy, and the Wingfeather Saga. Those are my top books. And then we have The Way of Kings, Name of the Wind, Peter Pan, and a bunch of other stuff down here. You already know where I put all my stuff, but that is roughly where I'm putting things. Also didn't think I would have some negative 1-star books, but I do, so there you go. And yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about these books at this point in life. Yeah, I think this is pretty solid. There's a lot of 4-star books, but that's good. Yeah, that is my list. If you enjoyed this and want to support me, feel free to like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends who are interested in this. And if you're into history, historical fashion, or sewing, check out my other channel linked below. I will see you in the next video. I hope you have your own fun reading adventures. Bye.